There's Gary has a visitor on his show. I guess it's an old blues guy who Gary met somewhere down the road, named Howlin' Blind Muddy Slim. And here's Howlin' Blind.
Yeah, baby. Go on,
I had to learn to
here.
play guitar to
Now
do
with
this
Blues
game.
Break 201, here's your host, Howlin' Blind Muddy Slim.
Howlin' Blind, Muddy Slim, your 60-minute jelly belly told you, man, come here, learn you the blues, did he? Oh, yeah. Better than that bar I was sitting in before I come up here. I was sitting at the bar, and a duck walked in. Don't you love it when you sit in a bar and a duck will walk in? Duck walk in there and say, hey, man, can I get a drink? And the bartender was amazed. You know, usually when a duck walk in and say something like that, you'd be kind of amazed. He said, you can talk. The duck said, sure thing, man. Now can I get that drink? And that bartender, he said, what you doing around here? Duck said, I'm working in that building site. They're building over there across the street over there. Bartender said, man, you can join a circus. You could make a mint. That duck said, join a circus? The hell does a circus want with a bricklayer? Yeah, man.
So that's Howlin' Blind.
I started doing that character, the quick story. That's Jimmy Reed is who it is when I was a drummer. I can't tell you the whole story, I guess, can I? Not with religious
probably
people.
not, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catch me later for this story.
But you know what? The moral is it comes from a real experience.
Yeah, it was. I'll leave that part with Jimmy Reed. The blues guy. When I was a drummer, I played with him at a place called the Cadillac Club in Memphis. And when he got out of the car, the first time I met him, he was reeling all over the place. And his manager said, "Don't give him anything to drink." And I said, "I think you're too late." And he said, "No, that's residual." And so. His personality kind of stuck with me all that time, and I remembered him, and I began to do this character, Howlin' Blind Muddy Slim, 60-minute Jelly Belly Toe Jam Man. And what Jimmy would do, they wouldn't give him drinks, but he would go around the place and grab the drinks up off the tables, and he would after the gig, and he would go under a table somewhere and start drinking all the drinks that he found on the tables and things. So every day with Howlin' Blind, we have a new drink. And here's what I found. He said, I get the spiders out the bottom of the bottles in the morning, I mean the night before, and I make me a drink for the next day because alcohol will kill all the bacteria. He doesn't care about the germs. And so then so we have I found some Boone's Farm and some Tang. I call this Boone Tang, And so that would be his drink of that day. So every time we do Howlin', we have a different drink. And it's the character, and the strange thing about getting into doing a character, you have to, and I played a little guitar, but I'm a drummer. And I noticed, about once a month, I'd have a real blues man on with me, and I play harmonica, and so I'd play harmonica with him or something and that kind of thing. And I do my bit, and I do a song about the story I just told, and then this guy does his song, and I'd play harp with him. Well, half the time these guys, once a month, they wouldn't show. So I'm sitting there with a whole break, wondering what the heck to do with it. I didn't want to play a record, of a blues guy and play with that. And so I thought, I can play a little guitar. So I went out and I bought a songbook and got some blues licks. And it took me, a couple months, but I worked it out. And then I didn't worry about that anymore. Now I've become a fanatic just to play guitar, And at the late age of, I think, 50, I took up guitar, And so, but all that just because you want to make that character complete, and I want to be able to actually do what the character can do. Now, I can't do it as well as Jimmy Reed can do it, but I can play, and so I don't worry about it now.
So after you left Wacky, as I recall, you went to New Orleans, WNOE, to try your hand as a program director?
Yeah.
And how were you?
Let's see. How
were you as a PD?
Well, actually, the station went from nowhere to number 2 in the market in no time.
Well, that's good.
But as a program director, it wasn't me. Basically, I wanted an office with a bunch of ferns and couches and stuff in the French Quarter.
Share with us your technique. You had a jock, as I recall, don't name him, but you had a jock doing middays who was in love with the sound of his own voice, right?
Have you guys met guys like that?
Let-
They love to hear the way
Let's
they
call
talk.
him Bob. Let's call him Bob Michaels.
Okay, Bob Michaels. Okay, we'll call him that. But he is someone that many, many, many of you know, and he's become, but
Well,
he's,
not as a disc
he's still
jockey.
not worth a crap, But he loved the sound of his pipes, and he had good pipes. He would go on the air and he would say, "This is Bob Michaels telling you it's 9:15," and I'd call him and I'd say, "Hey man, why have you got to say that this is you telling them it's 9:15? Why can't you say it's 9:15?" Okay. And then he'd go back, and the next day he'd do the same thing again. Well, I was a bit unorthodox and not a good PD, but I thought, well, I'll figure this out. So what I'll do is I have a newspaper, and whenever you say something stupid on the air like that, I'll hit you in the back of the head with this news. It won't hurt, but it'll remind you. Okay, that's cool. Let's do that. So I was behind him, and of course all the other guys are looking at because we wouldn't start a meeting unless, because he also used to also say, "Hiya, honey," when he went on the air, but we wouldn't start a meeting until we said, "Okay, you got to say hiya, honey." "I'm not going to say that today." "Okay, we're not going to meet until you say it." "All right, hiya, honey." And then we start our meeting. You know the type guys on the air. So so I'm behind him with the newspaper, and sure enough, it goes on the air. "Hi, this is Bob Michaels. It's me telling you now. It's 5 minutes after whack 9," and this went on. His whole show. I've got the air check somewhere. Like, okay, let's. How about, honey? How about you and me taking a trip to see what's going on with traffic right now? And I'm going to tell you, whack, just whatever. Then I got in and just hit him for the hell of it, no matter what, Because after a while, it was fun. You're just back there like, hi, whack. Because you didn't like a guy who was that much into his own voice anyway.
Then you went to
Never cured him, by the way. He's still like that today.
You went to CKLW, right?
The Big 8. When you could go to
mornings.
CKLW, you could go on the air up there. You could go, "Hello," and it would come out, "CKLW, the Big 8." I have no idea how they did
And
that.
somebody recently told me, they said, "Oh, Gary Burbank used to work at CKLW. I still remember the time he was arrested for drunk driving on his motorcycle." Now, do you want to tell them what the
No, it
story
wasn't drunk
was?
driving. It was. You know how you get ready? Anybody do mornings and I just don't get up, and you're all set to talk. And I ride a motorcycle even in Canada, but in Canada it's cold sometime, and I don't ride it when it's really cold. But in the springtime, of course, in summertime I would. But I forgot in Canada, many people in Windsor, they slept with their windows open and stuff, So on the way to work, I do this in the car. On the way to work, I'd be, riding the bike, and just to limber my voice up, I'm like, so I'm doing this through neighborhoods, and not realizing that I'm waking everybody up. And so one morning I'm, there's blue light pulling me over, and they finally caught the serial Tarzan yeller, and. So I told the guy who I was and why I did it, and he was just laughing his butt off. He couldn't believe it. Everybody couldn't believe that this guy's that stupid actually. And we thought you might be kind of smart the way you sounded. It's just the pipes. I speak in round pear-shaped tones, but I am a moron. It's okay. I'm in radio.
And people still talk about that today.